Hey, it's Jessie, and this is the Bun Mom Life. Hello, Fluffle Fam! Welcome back to the Bun Mom Life. I'm Jessie, voice actor by day and a completely obsessed bun mom of 4 every waking moment. And I'm so glad you're here. From the very start, we always knew that we wanted to free roam our bunnies. Free roaming, for anyone who might not be familiar with this term, means that our bunnies are not enclosed in any kind of separate space. They are free to roam the entire home with us. And in order to make that work, and to work safely, our home needs to be properly bunny-proofed, both to protect our bunnies and to protect our home. We'll get into exactly what that looks like in just a moment, but first, I really want to talk about something that I feel very strongly about, and that's the space that your bunny lives in and why it matters so much more than what many people seem to realize when they go into getting a bunny. If you're new to bunny parenting or if you're considering adopting a bunny, this is really, really important. Bunnies cannot thrive in cages or small hutches or small spaces, any space that prevents them from being able to hop around really freely and comfortably, from being able to do binkies and zoomies, from being able to flop and stretch out and get all their exercise. Anything that is as small as a cage or a hutch is really a prison for bunnies. The international standard set by rabbit welfare organizations like the Rabbit Welfare Association and Fund recommends a minimum combined living and exercise space of at least 10 feet by 6 feet for a single rabbit. 10 feet by 6 feet minimum. And ideally, even with a space that size, if a bunny can also get an additional several hours of free roaming time every single day, that's even better. Bunnies need a lot of space, and this isn't just about physical health, it's about mental health too. Cages and small hutches, they're not homes for bunnies, they're prisons, as I've mentioned. Bunnies that are kept in small, confined spaces don't only develop physical health issues, they develop psychological ones. They can become depressed, they can become angry and aggressive. And bunnies are very social, curious, active creatures, so isolating them in a tiny space causes real harm to them. Our Kumo, our little cloud, is a heartbreaking example of what long-term confinement can do to a bunny. When we adopted him, he had been kept in a cage or in a small space for a very long time. So despite looking small and slight and very skinny when he first came home, we discovered in his initial vet visit that he actually had a significant amount of fat stored in his underbelly. This is a result of barely moving for an extended period. His back muscles had atrophied from being unable to use them properly because he was just sitting in a tiny space all day, all night. And one of the things that really stayed with me the most was that for a long time after coming home, Kuma wouldn't lie down or sprawl out to sleep. He would either just sit sleeping or loaf a little bit. And I want to be fair because it's possible that part of that was simply him taking time to feel safe enough in a new space to fully relax. But based on everything else we observed about him and his behavior, it told us that he trusted us pretty completely from the start. And we genuinely believe that he just didn't know yet that he had the space to lie down if he wanted to. And so when he started to learn that, and it took him a while to learn that, that's when we started to see more and more of Kumo flopping out completely at ease, so comfortable, sprawling and stretching out all the time. So that was really precious to us. But it is pretty heartbreaking to think about that in those early days, knowing what his life had looked like before he found his way to us, it's heartbreaking. So please, 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 please do not keep your bunnies in cages. Do not keep them in small hutches. I find it a little frustrating that there are still pet stores and pet brands that still advertise cages and hutches for bunnies. They're not adequate, not at all. It's animal cruelty to keep bunnies in those confined spaces for long periods of time. Don't keep your bunnies outdoors. House bunnies should always be living indoors with their humans, their family, and if you want a really close, intimate, and really special bond with your bunny, sharing your home with them is one of the most powerful ways to do that, to build that. It's the constant interaction and the ability that they have to be a part of your daily routine, and the freedom that they have to follow you around or not follow you around. That's what really helps build a very real and deep trust between you and this wonderful prey animal. I also want to say that if your home or your living situation makes it fully free roaming difficult, that's okay too. A large enclosure, so we mentioned at least 10 feet by 6 feet standard, combined with dedicated daily free roaming time works really well. Some people convert a spare bedroom or they set up a generous exercise pen area as a dedicated bunny space. That's also wonderful options. Not everyone I know is able to share their entire home with their bunnies, and that's fair. What matters is that the space that they do have is generous and that they are with you inside your home. So, back to our bunnies. We knew from the start that we wanted to share our entire space with them. Rue was the first to come home as a little baby, and we knew we needed to start her in an enclosed area first so that she could get familiar with her new environment without feeling overwhelmed, and also so that we could get her litter trained before giving her full reign of the home. When we adopted each of our 3 boys, the setup was similar every time, starting them in an enclosed area, getting them comfortable, getting the litter box routine established, which, by the way, I gotta say, the 3 boys, their litter habits coming home, perfect from the start. Immediately, I didn't have to train them. They just knew. And then gradually we'd remove the fences and the gates and let them all free roam. And of course, they had to be bonded to Rue, which we've talked about in previous episodes, and we will have an upcoming, very detailed, dedicated 2 episodes that are coming soon, all about bonding and our bonding experience with our 3 pairs of bunnies. But even before bringing any of the bunnies home, we had a lot of work to do to get our space ready. And here's everything we did to bunny-proof our home. 1. Covering all exposed cables and cords. Bunnies chew cables, not because they purposely want to irritate you and make you spend lots of money, but because they look like roots. Out in the wild, chewing through roots is a completely natural bunny behavior. So when they see a cable on your floor, their instincts kick in. They're like, oh, it's a root. And they just go for it. The problem, as we all know, is that chewing a live cable is dangerous for them potentially, and also very expensive for us, especially because most of the time, bunnies really like the expensive cables, like the Apple ones. So we use the affordable soft plastic cable protectors from IKEA, which are not indestructible. A determined bunny can still chew right through those eventually, but overall they've been doing a good job. There are also hard plastic cable hiders that attach directly to the wall, which are a great option if your cables are in fixed positions. Trust me on this one, if a cable is exposed, your bunny will find it, as I said, especially the fancy Apple ones. Apparently, that silicone texture is irresistible. 2. Installing bunny gates. In our old condo, we didn't need any gates. But in our current home, which technically has 4 floors, gates are absolutely necessary. Our bunnies share the main living / gathering level is what we call it. That's where the living room, dining room, kitchen, and our little library nook are. And they also share the floor above, which is where the bedroom and the studios are. The ground floor with the foyer, the entrance, the laundry space, and the workout space is totally off limits, and so is the top floor that leads to our rooftop terrace. Though we do dream of one day creating a covered, bunny-safe area up there for them so that they can be out on a beautiful, sunny rooftop terrace with us when we're hanging out up there as well, which we do often in the summer. One day. So finding suitable gates was actually one of the most research-intensive parts of this whole process. The pet gates are usually made for puppies and dogs, so either there was a large horizontal gap at the bottom that a bunny can 100% squeeze through or squeeze under, or there were the grid gaps were wide enough for a bunny to push through. And bunnies can fit through spaces that seem impossibly small. Our Timo once squeezed through a gap that was maybe an inch and a half wide, like this, if you're watching on video. And we were so stunned. We genuinely thought there was no way. We really thought there's no way he could squeeze through that, but he totally did. We eventually found a baby gate with a thick professional grade acrylic panel instead of a grid. So it didn't have any gaps in between, and there was no bottom gap, and the side gaps were really narrow, and it's aesthetic and looks beautiful in our space. So we have 2 installed, and we love them. They work fantastically. 3, moving. I've got apple pieces in my teeth. 3, moving houseplants out of reach. Most houseplants are toxic to bunnies, unfortunately, and the list is quite long. So in our home, that included plants like the monstera, snake plant, pothos, the philodendron, all of which are toxic, and all of which bunnies would happily nibble on, given the chance. We learned this firsthand when Rue somehow reached a monstera leaf of the plant that we were sure was far enough out of her reach. But she got to it, she nibbled on it, and when I discovered her nibbling on that leaf, I spiraled into panic, called our vet, and was told I just had to monitor her. Thankfully, she hadn't eaten enough to cause any harm, but that was a terrifying few hours, and I learned my lesson. Never underestimate a bunny's determination. Whatever distance you think is safe, go a little further. Whatever barrier you think is enough, make it a little more. They're just too clever for their own good. 4, the baseboards. So for many months with Rue and Linus, the baseboards were completely fine. They showed no interest. And then one day, one of them discovered that, baseboards are delicious. And then, of course, the other one noticed, and suddenly they were both just going to town on the baseboards at every opportunity. I still remember being woken up in the middle of the night by that unmistakable sound of wood being enthusiastically chewed through. It drove us a little bit crazy. I want to clarify, though, this is not naughty behavior of bunnies. Chewing wood is completely natural. It helps wear down their ever-growing teeth. So what we did was not try to stop them from chewing, just try to redirect it. We placed plastic grids along the baseboards to block access, which worked. But those baseboards had already taken quite a hit by then and needed to all be repaired when we eventually moved. And we gave them lots of chew toys, and finding the chew toys that they are actually interested in is a whole other process in itself. But once we found them, it worked wonders. And now in our new home, we've been very lucky. The baseboards have remained pretty much untouched. There might be like one spot somewhere that I remember seeing a little bit of a nibble on, but otherwise, baseboards unnibbled on. And I think it's because this house is so much bigger than the condo, and the bunnies have so much more space. They're running upstairs and downstairs. They're constantly stimulated. They have lots to entertain them. They have lots of space to play in and explore, that they simply haven't felt the need or the desire to go after the baseboards. Long may it continue. 5. Stair treads. Our stairs are hardwood, so we installed stair treads on every step to give the bunnies grip and traction. Before we did this, they were slipping and sliding, and it was really stressful to watch. They could still run up and down. They did it a lot slower, but it still made us pretty nervous. With the treads, they run up and down very confidently and, most importantly, very safely. So, highly recommend stair treads for your stairs if they're not carpeted or if they don't have any grip on them. 6. The balcony. At our condo, we would let our bunnies play out on the balcony very regularly, and that's actually how we discovered that Rue loves snow. And she flops in it over and over again, and it's one of the most joyful things that we've ever seen. If you haven't watched that video, I highly encourage you to hop over to Little Oppie Roo right now. Take a look. It's so cute. To make the balcony safe, we laid down flooring so they weren't running on bare concrete, and we did put up fences around the perimeter just to prevent them from squeezing underneath or getting anywhere near the edge. Our balcony was covered overhead, so we didn't have to worry about birds of prey, but balcony time was always very closely supervised, with the door open so that the bunnies could come and go. They can run back inside, go back outside as they pleased. We haven't yet set up an outdoor space at our new home, but it's absolutely on the list. It's just that, again, this space here is so much bigger. There's so much more bunny proofing that would need to be involved. And there are lots of birds of prey in this area, so it's something we have to be very, very careful about. So if there's even the slightest risk, we will not bring them outside. 7. Rugs. Rugs. And more rugs. We have rugs in almost every room. We have runners in all the hallways. We have mats laid out wherever we can fit them, partly because we love rugs. We love the warmth and the coziness that it adds to a space. But mostly it's so our bunnies can run freely without slipping all over the hardwood floors. The more grippable surface area that they have, the better. Rugs are also important for their paw health. Less slipping means less strain, so that there's less of a risk of them developing what some of you may have heard of called sore hocks. That said, our vet actually taught us something pretty interesting, which is having rugs doesn't automatically mean your bunny is protected from sore hocks, because the type and texture of the rug matters too. So looped pile rugs in particular can be problematic because the loops can catch on nails and cause irritation. Flat weave or tightly woven rugs are generally the safer choice for bunny paws. So something that may be worth keeping in mind when you're choosing what to put down. We, to be honest, did not know about this when we purchased all of the rugs in our house, so we didn't put that into consideration. But so far, their paws and thumpers have been fine, so we'll see. 8. Keeping products safely stored. So things like cleaning supplies, chemical products, air fresheners, even essential oil diffusers, all of these need to be kept completely out of reach and ideally out of the room entirely. It's not just about what bunnies can chew or eat. Bunnies have very sensitive respiratory systems, and certain airborne products can be harmful for them too. We keep all our cleaning supplies inside closed cabinets or up on shelves that are well out of reach, and we're very mindful of what we diffuse or spray in the spaces that the bunnies share with us. I used to love candles and burning candles, but even these days I'm doing it quite rarely, if ever. just to be on the safe side. Bunnies are naturally curious, inquisitive, they're endlessly energetic little beings. They like to explore, they like to chew, they like to dig. And these are not naughty behaviors. These are just bunnies being bunnies. One of the ways we try to redirect these instincts, I mentioned earlier, is by giving them safe chew toys. We also like to give them tunnels and hidey houses to explore, foraging mats to satisfy their digging and foraging desires. Keeping them stimulated and entertained goes a very long way. Even a lot of social interaction, that is stimulation for them too. So teaching them tricks, giving them pets, sitting in the space with them, all this is very good for bunnies. But I gotta say, even with all of that, even with all the toys, all the space, all the bunny proofing, all the bunny interaction, bunnies will still be bunnies. There will always be a little bite mark somewhere, a chewed corner of a rug, holes in our throws and blankets, chunks nibbled off our Crocs. And you know what? I've come to think of those little marks as things that are pretty wonderful. They're the imprints our bunnies leave on our home and on our lives. It's evidence that they were here, they were happy, and they were free. So that's everything we did to make our home a safe and happy place for our free roaming bunnies. It sounds like a lot, and it is a little bit of work up front, but it's so completely worth it. Best decision we ever made for our bunnies. If you have questions about any of this, or if you want to share how you've bunny-proofed your own space, I'd love to hear from you. Come find me on Instagram at thebunmomlife or at Little Loppy-Roo. You could also send me an email at thebunmomlife@gmail.com or comment on the YouTube post or the Instagram post, whatever you'd prefer. You know, I always love hearing from you. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like and subscribe. You know, it truly means so much. All right, Fluffle Fam. Have a wonderful rest of your day or evening wherever you are. And remember, you are loved and cherished always. Our Bun Bun sends you lots of boops. Bye. Just a little disclaimer to wrap up. I am not a vet. I'm not a certified anything. I'm just your bun mom friend over here sharing my journey. So if anything I've mentioned today has you curious or concerned about your own bunnies, please reach out to an experienced exotic vet or a trusted professional. Your bunny is lucky to have someone who cares enough to look into it. Bye.